Hello and welcome back to the channel. We are going to do a Disney story today, and this week it is based on The Lion King. Simba wants to be a brave king just like his father, but he doesn't expect to inherit the throne of Pride Rock so soon. With the help of his new friends, will Simba claim his rightful place in the circle of life? This was published by Autumn Publishing, and let's get into it. As the morning sun rose high over the African plain, the first rays of light fell on the astonishing sight, a vast herd thundering across the Pride Lands. From the strongest elephants to the swiftest zebras, the animals moved towards Pride Rock, where they were to celebrate the birth of Mustafa's son. They watched in silence as Rafiki, a wise old baboon, raised the lion cub high in the air. The clouds parted and the sun's rays shone down on the future king. Slowly, Rafiki lowered his arms and took Simba back to his proud parents, King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi. It was a very special day. Time passed quickly for little Simba. One dawn, Mufasa led the little cub to the top of Pride Rock. "Everything the light touches is our kingdom," said Mufasa. "One day, Simba, the sun will set on my time here and will rise with you as the new king." Later that day, Simba met his uncle Scar. The cub proudly told Scar that his father had shown him the whole of the future kingdom. "Did he show you what that rise at the border?" Scar said slyly. "He said I can't go there," replied Simba sadly. "He's absolutely right," said Scar. "Only the bravest lions go there. An elephant graveyard is no place for a young prince." Simba hurried away to find his best friend, a young lioness called Nala. Even though he knew it was wrong, Simba had decided to visit the elephant graveyard with Nala that very day. He had no idea that Scar had ordered 3 hyenas to go to the elephant graveyard too. Scar wanted them to kill the cub as the first step in his plan to take over Mufasa's kingdom. Though Simba had lied to his mother about where they were going, Sarabi still insisted that Zazu, the king's advisor, went with them. Luckily, Simba had a plan. The young cubs suddenly darted in between a herd of zebras and left Zazu far behind. Simba and Nala soon arrived at the elephant graveyard. Simba was looking at a skull when Zazu finally caught up with them. He warned them that they had to leave at once, but it was already too late. They were trapped. 3 hyenas had surrounded them, laughing menacingly and licking their lips hungrily. Simba took a deep breath and tried to roar, but only a squeak rumble came out. The hyenas laughed hysterically. Simba took another deep breath. Roar! The 3 hyenas looked around into the eyes of King Mufasa. The king slapped and smacked them with his huge paws until the hyenas fled, howling into the mist. Mufasa sent Nala and Zazu ahead and walked slowly home with his son. "You deliberately disobeyed me," said Mufasa. "I'm sorry," replied Simba sadly. "Let's go home," said Mufasa. Simba followed his father, his head dropped in shame. The moon shone brightly above them, and the stars twinkled in the dark sky. Mufasa stopped. "The great kings of the past looked down on us from those stars," he explained. "Just remember that those kings will always be there to guide you, and so will I." By the next day, Scar had devised another plan to get rid of Mufasa and Simba. He led Simba to the bottom of a gorge and told him to wait for his father. Then the hyenas started a stampede among a herd of wildebeest. At that moment, Mufasa was walking along the ridge with Zazu. When he saw his son, the king raced down the gorge and rescued him. But he could not save himself. He fell onto an overhanging rock as the wildebeest swept by him. Looking up, he saw his brother. "Brother, help me!" he cried. But Scar just leaned over and whispered, "Long live the king." Then he pushed Mufasa into the path of the trampling wildebeest. When the stampede was over, Simba ran to Mufasa. "Dad," he whispered, nuzzling Mufasa's mane, But the king did not reply. Simba started sobbing. "Simba," said Scar coldly, "what have you done? The king is dead. If it weren't for you, he'd still be alive. Run away and never return." As Scar returned to take the royal throne at Pride Rock for himself, Simba stumbled, exhausted and frightened, through the grassland towards the jungle. He took a few shaky steps and collapsed. Hungry vultures circled above him. Eventually Simba opened his eyes. A warthog called Pumbaa and a meerkat called Timon were gazing down at him. They poured water into his dry mouth. "Where you from?" asked Timon. "Who cares?" replied Simba. "I can't go back. I did something terrible." "You got to put the past behind you," said Timon. "No rules, no responsibilities, and no worries. Hakuna Matata." Simba was quickly cheered up by his new friend's attitude. He even learned to like the taste of bugs. Many years later, deep in a cave, Rafiki stared at the picture of a lion. "It is time," he said, smiling, and prepared to leave. The very next day, Simba rescued Pumbaa from a hungry lioness. It was Nala. The two friends were delighted to see each other. Nala told Simba about Scar's reign of terror at Pride Rock and begged him to return, but Simba didn't want to go back. Instead, Simba showed Nala his favourite places in the jungle. He wanted to tell Nala all about what had happened with his father, but he was too ashamed. After spending time with his friend, Simba wanted to be alone. That night, Simba lay by a stream thinking. He heard a noise and looked up. It was Rafiki. Simba followed him to the edge of the stream. As Simba looked into the water, his reflection gradually changed shape and became his father's. The reflection rose into the sky, and Simba heard Mufasa's voice. "You must take your place in the circle of life. You are my son and the one true king." Then the reflection and Rafiki disappeared. Simba knew he had to face his past. Back at Pride Rock, the rains had been late coming and the land was dry. The hyenas paced impatiently around King Scar. Storm clouds gathered and a lightning bolt scorched the earth. As the dry grasses caught fire, flames swept toward Pride Rock. A lion appeared through the smoke. It was Simba. Scar lunged at Simba, determined to kill him, just as he had Mufasa. In the fierce battle that followed, Simba finally heaved Scar over the cliff. Scar called to the hyenas to save him, but Nala and the lionesses drove him back. Simba was victorious. Nala went to Simba's side. As they smiled at each other, it started to rain. The heavy drops soaked the dry ground, and the stream beds filled up once more. The plains came back to life, and the herds returned. One dawn, the animals and birds made their way again to the foot of Pride Rock. Watched by everyone, Rafiki picked up a tiny cub. He showed the new princess, the daughter of King Simba and Queen Nala, to the cheering crowd below. The circle of life was complete. And that was a retelling of Disney's The Lion King. Thanks for watching this video. Like, share, subscribe and support the channel however you can. And I will see you real soon.